The autumn leaves drifted lazily through Central Park, painting the ground in shades of copper and gold. It was late afternoon, and the sun hung low in a sky streaked with purple clouds, casting long shadows across the empty benches. The air carried the crisp bite of October, mixed with the distant smell of hot pretzels from a vendor somewhere down the path. A lone saxophone melody drifted through the trees, soft and mournful, weaving between the rustle of falling leaves, like a prayer no one had asked for, but everyone needed. The music came from Melody Harper, a 26-year-old subway performer with tangled auburn hair and fingers that had learned to find warmth in the brass of her saxophone when nowhere else would provide it. Her worn canvas case sat open on the ground, holding only 3 crumpled dollar bills from an entire afternoon of playing. Melody had been homeless for 2 years now, ever since her mother died, and the medical bills swallowed everything they had. She slept in shelters when she could find space, under bridges when she could not. Her clothes hung loose on a frame that had grown too thin, and there were dark circles under her eyes that spoke of nights spent worrying instead of sleeping. But when she played, none of that existed. When she played, she was somewhere else entirely. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the healing power of music, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because stories like this one remind us that even in our darkest moments, a stranger can become an angel. Melody was about to pack up for the evening when she noticed him, a massive figure sitting alone on a bench about 30 feet away. At first she thought he might be dangerous. Everything about him screamed intimidation. Arms like railroad ties, covered in tattoos that crawled up to his neck. A thick grey beard, a leather vest with patches she recognized immediately, red and black, Iron Disciples, the menacing emblem glaring from the back. Most people would have walked away faster, but something made Melody look closer. The man's shoulders were shaking, his head was bowed, and even from this distance, she could see the tears streaming down his weathered face, disappearing into his beard. This giant, terrifying biker was crying like his world had ended. Melody could have minded her own business. She could have packed up her saxophone and found somewhere safe for the night. But her father, rest his soul, had always told her that music was medicine, that sometimes the broken ones need it most. She walked over slowly, her heart pounding with every step. The biker did not look up. She sat down on the opposite end of the bench, said nothing, and simply began to play. The melody that came out was not planned. It was something slow and sad, something that spoke of loss and love and the terrible space between them. She played for 10 minutes without stopping, pouring everything she had into the notes, while the giant beside her wept. When the last note faded, there was silence. Then a voice, rough as gravel, barely above a whisper. The man said his son died 3 days ago. Motorcycle accident. He said the boy was only 22. Melody did not know what to say, so she did not say anything. She just started playing again, this time something softer, gentler. A lullaby her mother used to sing. The biker's name was Raymond Stone. He had been president of his chapter for 15 years. He had buried friends, survived prison, faced down rivals who wanted him dead, but nothing had prepared him for burying his only child. He had come to this park because it was the last place he and his son had walked together 3 months ago, before everything changed. When Melody finished playing, Raymond looked at her for the first time. His eyes were red and swollen, but there was something else there now. A flicker of something that might have been peace. He asked her name. She told him. He asked why she was out here playing for strangers. She told him that too. All of it. The mother, the bills, the shelters, the bridges. Raymond reached into his pocket and pulled out a roll of cash. He tried to hand her what looked like several $100s. Melody shook her head. She said she did not play for money. Not today. She said, "Some things are more important." Raymond stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. He said she had given him something no amount of money could buy, that she had given him a moment of peace when he thought he would never feel it again. He promised she would see him again. 3 weeks passed. Melody had almost forgotten about the encounter. She was playing in her usual spot when she heard it. A sound that started as a distant rumble, growing louder, deeper, until it shook the ground beneath her feet. She looked up and felt her heart stop. Motorcycles were pouring into the park, big Harleys, chrome flashing in the afternoon sun. They came from every direction, forming a massive circle around her. 50, 100. She counted over 200 before she lost track. Red and black patches everywhere, blazing like war flags. Melody's first instinct was to run. This had to be some kind of mistake, some kind of threat. But then she saw Raymond Stone himself dismount from a black road king and walk toward her, his limp from an old injury barely visible. Raymond stopped in front of her, and his voice carried across the silent crowd. He said she had played for him on the worst day of his life, that she had given him her gift when she had nothing else to give, and that his family never forgets that kind of kindness. What happened next would change Melody Harper's life forever. One of the bikers stepped forward carrying a brand new saxophone case. Inside was a professional grade instrument worth more than Melody had made in the last 2 years combined. Another biker brought forward a folder containing documentation for a fully paid scholarship to the Juilliard School, one of the best music schools in the country. A third handed her keys to a small apartment, prepaid for 1 year. But Raymond was not finished. He said there was one more thing, that his son had loved music too, that before he died, he had been saving up to open a small live music venue. Raymond said the club was going to open next month, and they needed someone to headline the first show. He asked if she would honor them by being that person. Melody stood there, saxophone case in her trembling hands, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the sea of leather and chrome surrounding her. These men and women who the world had taught her to fear were the ones who had seen her when no one else would. She tried to say she could not accept all this, that she had just played a song, that it was not that big a deal. Raymond shook his head, slowly. He said some songs save lives, that hers had saved his, and when someone gives you a reason to keep going, you do not forget that, not ever. The woman who ran the club, Raymond's sister, Darlene, stepped forward and wrapped Melody in a hug. She whispered that Melody was family now, that their door would always be open. 1 month later, Melody Harper played her first professional concert at Stone Memorial Music Hall. The venue was packed with 200 Iron disciples, their families, and friends. When she took the stage, she played that same mournful melody she had played in Central Park, and somewhere in the front row, Raymond Stone closed his eyes and smiled for the first time since he had lost his son, Michael. And before we end, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Music heals the soul," to show that you stand with Melody and Raymond, because sometimes the smallest gift given in the darkest moment can light up the entire world. Like, subscribe, and remember, you never know who needs your kindness today. You never know whose life you might save with nothing more than a song and a moment of your time. Melody Harper still plays at Stone Memorial Music Hall every month. She graduated from Juilliard last year, and every anniversary of that day in Central Park, she returns to that same bench and plays that same melody, now surrounded by 200 motorcycles, in memory of a son she never met, but helped a father learn to live without. Some gifts do not come wrapped in paper, some come wrapped in music, And some come on two wheels, roaring through your life when you need them most.